The study session of the Aurora City Council is called to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Kaufman,
Here.
Councilmember Bergen,
Here.
Councilmember Coombs, Councilmember Gardner,
Councilmember Gardner will not be with us tonight.
Councilmember Hancock,
Here.
Councilmember Drinsky, Councilmember Casal,
Here.
Councilmember Lawson,
I'm here.
Councilmember Medina,
Here.
Councilmember Mario, Mayor Pro Tem Sundberg.
Here.
There's no mayor's update. Are there any issue updates? Seeing none, is there any objection to moving the consent calendar forward out of number 2A through 2C? Seeing none, the consent calendar item number 2A through 2C will move forward. Item number 3A, transportation safety update. Councilmember Stephanie Hancock.
Be good if I turn my mic on. Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to turn it over to Carly Campuzano. This is coming out of our transportation meeting this past week, and she will give us the color commentary. Thank you, Carly.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I will share screens. All right. Hope everyone can see that. So my name is Carly Campuzano. I'm the Deputy Director of Transportation and Mobility in the Public Works Department. And with me here today also, who will be presenting on some targeted APD slides, is Commander Matt Bruckbacher. So he's on the line as well with Aurora PD. And we are going to be presenting on transportation safety updates. So here's an agenda of what we will cover. First, I will go over transportation safety in general, give an overview on background and just some information about that and how we approach that. Then I will go over some crash data and metrics, both at the state level and then at Aurora specifically. And then from there, we will go over different strategies with how we address transportation safety from the engineering, enforcement, and education sides. And then I'll go over some next steps and what we plan to do going forward. So I wanted to start with just an overview of the 3 E's of roadway safety. You might have seen these before, maybe heard of these, but the 3 E's are education, engineering, and enforcement. So if you think of these strategies as kind of like legs of a stool, if any one leg isn't in place, you won't have the optimum transportation safety. So this was a concept developed a long time ago to try to explain the nuanced complexity of this topic and the relationship of these different items. So on the engineering side, engineering means changing the built environment. So that's a lot of what we work on in the Public Works Department. On the enforcement side, enforcement means issuing citations or warnings for violations to encourage compliance with the law. And then education is providing information that increases driver awareness and motivates folks to alter their behavior. So those are some foundations. Next, I'm going to go over the safe systems approach. This is kind of a newer approach messaged by the Federal Highway Administration, or FHWA. And this really centers around the concept that humans are vulnerable and they're going to make mistakes, but the punishment for a mistake shouldn't result in serious injury or death. But this approach also stresses and emphasizes that responsibility is shared. It's shared between roadway practitioners and design. It's shared between road users, enforcement, post-crash care, all of those items, that it's really a shared responsibility to be committed to transportation safety. So from here, I'm going to go over some data on the next few slides, just to give you an idea of what's going on and what trends we're seeing. And so all the data that I'm about to show is related to fatal crashes, specifically in roadway fatalities. So to start off, this slide shows fatal crashes directly from the Colorado Department of Transportation. So this is statewide data from the state's website. All of my data slides are also going to have sources at the bottom. So if you are inclined to go look and see see updates on there or some more background, it's all linked at the bottom. So this is statewide data. What I want to emphasize here is that crashes have increased over the last, fatalities have increased over the last 10 years. The bigger increase really kind of started in 2020, and then coming out of the pandemic, the statewide, we saw an increase in 2021 and then a pretty big increase in 2022. I didn't include all the federal data with this. I was trying to keep it a little bit shorter than we did at TAPS, but federal is very similar in the trends that we're seeing. So then in 2023, it decreased a little bit, and then the trends have been decreasing a little bit also in 2024 and then in 2025 as well. But the state is really good about updating their website in real time. So if you ever want to go look at it, you'll get the real time counts on their website. So then in Aurora, our fatal crashes have increased here as well, unfortunately. Definitely coming out of the pandemic, we did see a pretty sharp increase, especially in 2022 and 2023. The 2023 spike was a little different than what we saw statewide and national. There are probably some different reasons for that, one of which we had a much higher crash rate on the interstates than that year. We had 10 fatalities that occurred just on the interstates. And then more positively, there was a little bit of a decrease in 2024 that brought us back to the 2022 level. And then this year has been on pace to be lower as well. But one caveat is that I did pull this data for this meeting about 6 weeks ago, and we did have a pretty bad August with some motorcycle crashes as well. So it's relatively up to date, but it's a little bit higher for 2025. So that's just an overview of really just the raw data. And next, I'll get into a couple slides just on takeaways and trends. So some emerging trends that we're seeing statewide, but are consistent here in Aurora as well. Like I said, fatalities increased in 2021 to 2023 and have decreased the last couple years, so 2025 and 2024. We're seeing patterns of people not wearing seatbelts. No seatbelt use accounted for about half of our fatalities. Speeding has increased a lot since 2019, and speeding accounts for 30 to 40% of our fatal crashes. Impaired driving has also increased steadily. Lately, it accounts for at least a third of fatal crashes. That statistic also tends to be underreported just because the data is not always available at the time the report is done. But impaired driving has definitely been an issue that's increased. Distracted driving has increased. I think anecdotally, we all kind of understand that and what cell phones have done to drivers paying attention. It's a lot harder to quantify though, probably also for obvious reasons. And then a lot of fatal crashes involve younger men. So men under 44 make up a really large proportion of traffic fatalities, and overall, men represent 75% of traffic fatalities. So this is my last slide on data. This is more Aurora specific metrics. So this is all pulled from our APD data from 2024. So speeding was about half of our fatal crashes. Pedestrians accounted for a third of our fatal crashes. Motorcycles were about a quarter of our fatal crashes. We're seeing no seatbelt and helmet use accounting for about a third, and then DUIs and impairment are about a third. And then a lot of crashes also occur in dark conditions. And you'll see that these don't add up to 100 just because, a lot of crashes involve more than one of these conditions. So you could have a motorcycle crash that's a DUI that occurs at night. So these are just overall takeaways and patterns, but they don't necessarily add up. So next, I want to talk about what do we do about this? And there are a lot of things that we're already doing, and then some things that we're planning to do in the future as well. So starting off on the engineering side, which is kind of more under our purview in public works, and then in transportation engineering as well. So when we're trying to decide how to correct for a safety issue or a crash pattern, or how to decide if there is a crash pattern, we do a very detailed review of the crash data, and we really rely heavily on what we call proven safety countermeasures. So on the FHWA's website, they have a list of a lot of different strategies that are proven to reduce crashes overall or reduce fatal and serious injury crashes. And so things like roundabouts, you can go on, click on one of these on their website and see that roundabouts are proven to reduce fatal and serious injury crashes by 78% when compared to a signal. So that's just an example. There's a lot of different strategies, but we try to deploy resources and decide on projects in a data-driven way. In the Public Works group as well, we are working on a safety action plan in coordination with Adams County. So this plan includes evaluations citywide of crash data and of our roadways. So doing that detailed analysis, engaging stakeholders, identifying safety countermeasures, and then deciding where they should be deployed. And then proactively, even if there's not a crash pattern somewhere yet, should this also be deployed somewhere else citywide, or should it be our new standard? So the safety action plan will be ready by the spring. So you'll definitely see that come back here for approval. And we'll have a really good project list coming out of that with some prioritized needs from safety, and then a more transparent way to show crashes and projects in the city. And then another thing that we do in the Public Works Department, we're always reviewing safety, but we don't always have a crash that needs to be corrected by a huge project. Sometimes there are quick action things we can do. So in our team, we're constantly reviewing crash data, seeing if there's a pattern, and then we try to see what we can deploy cheaply and quickly first. So if there are changes we can make to striping, marking, signal phasing, adding turn arrows sometimes, putting in all-way stops if they're warranted, improvements by schools, all those things, we can normally do a lot of that year-round using our internal staff resources to deploy these things more quickly. So from there, the next few slides, I'll turn it over to Commander Bruckbacher, if you're on and able to unmute.
I am. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Commander Matt Bruckbacher, Aurora Police Department Special Operations. I'll try to go through a few of these things. A lot of this stuff you guys have heard me talk about in the past, but we have some updated information on there. Obviously, through enforcement, our primary traffic enforcement group is our traffic section. However, it has been very clearly made that all members of the Aurora Police Department's mission is traffic safety. And with that, we have seen an increase in ticket generation and strict enforcement, specifically in problem areas. We'll talk a little bit about just special operations. Our motorcycle enforcement team, we have 8 officers on the team. 2 of them are assigned specifically to the interstates. by this point this year in 2025, just over 11,000 traffic summonses have been issued. Over almost 19,000 traffic stops have been made, specifically by the Special Operations Bureau. I have some numbers specific to that. We've issued 6,587 summonses year to date, and in the last 8 weeks, we were up 32% in our ticket issuance. So strict enforcement is definitely ongoing. In 24, the traffic section implemented a new strategic plan focused more on being data driven, which is a thing that you guys have certainly heard from the police department a lot, is looking at where are we having problems and where to put our attention at. We continue to do that, and we have monthly discussions about where our high traffic and traffic crash areas are. And then we're also doing more than 1 month or one a month, I'm sorry, multi operations per month to target specifically aggressive driving. Our SOS initiative, we have officers that come in Saturday and Sunday, specifically dealing with street racing. However, they've also morphed into dealing with other traffic related issues and generate quite a bit of volume of contacts each night that they work. And then our grant funding, that is a big thing for us, almost 300,000 in 2025 that we are using to fund additional overtime for enforcement. That's usually done by our motor officers and our other traffic officers dealing with traffic safety, click it or ticket, and then DUI enforcement. And then the last thing is we collaborate a lot with our PIOs. You probably hopefully have seen some of the messaging we put out, trying to get people to slow down, pay attention to driving, put the phone down, and engage in the act of driving solely. Automated enforcement, Council, you've heard a lot of this from Lieutenant Amsler. You're going to hear a little bit more tonight on a finalization of an ordinance. However, this new program is in actually the final stages at this point. We should be going live in October, starting with the warning process, and then in November, hopefully going to actually issuing summonses. So 30 days, we'll be doing the warnings. Vehicles traveling 11 or over above the speed limit, we're going to be targeting residential areas, school zones, work zones, areas like that that are a bigger concern. And then you can see $40 state capped per citation, 80 in school zones. And then anything that's over 25 miles an hour, we're going to have to send an officer out and physically issue a summons for those charges.
Thank you, Commander. So I'll take the next couple slides from here. So on the education side, education is kind of the last piece to talk about. So on education, we're working on regional efforts with CDOT and DRCOG, the Denver Regional Council of Governments, and we also continue to work with them on crash reviews and engagement. Our city council, Councilmember Hancock and Mayor were very involved in this, but we had a safety summit with the NTSB in April, which I think was really positive and gave us some really good momentum towards safety and good optics. And then other targeted transportation engagement are going on through some of our other plans with Connecting Aurora and the Safety Action Plan as well. So this is my last slide. I kind of want to tie it all together. Just given a lot of the crashes that have happened over the summer and just emphasis on transportation safety, we kind of tried to package some of these strategies and some future strategies into what we're calling the Aurora Safe Streets Action Plan. And so I know we're getting close to time, so I'll kind of focus on a couple of our newer things that we're working on. So on the engineering side, we are going to advance some technology projects that will, I hope, really help us deploy, utilize technology to help reduce crashes in a different way. So upgrading some of our signal equipment and installing new equipment that can help us identify near misses or where we need to change signals and be very proactive about it instead of having to have a complaint to review an area. I think that is something that is going to help us a lot moving forward. On the enforcement side, you heard Commander Bruckbacher talk about automated enforcement, but they've also stepped up enforcement in a lot of different areas and have been working on the engagement side as well, and will continue to do that. And then on the education side, we're really trying to improve on the education side as well. So what we would like to do going forward is to attend as many ward meetings as we can, give a similar presentation to this, get good community feedback, engage, make it so that everyone feels heard and can let us know, what their comments or questions are. So we have a lot of those for you who've heard this before already on the book. So thank you for that. But we can reach out to other folks after this to set up a meeting if we're not already on your agenda. And then we're also continuing to get resident engagement through our projects and Access Aurora and really emphasizing those good tools that we have in place already. And so that was all I had. This is just an informational item, so I don't need a vote, but happy to answer any questions that you all have. And thank you for your time.
Questions. I have one, Mike Hoffman, Mayor, and that is that I don't see a breakdown of when you talk about pedestrian, are you also including bike bike collisions?
No, bikes are separate, and bikes tend to be a lot lower in Aurora. So I included kind of some metrics that really rise to the top, but
Okay.
bikes, I guess, fortunately, we either have 0 or maybe 1 or 2 crashes per year. Bikes are not that frequent of a crash type for us in Aurora.
Councilmember Bergen?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Carly, I always appreciate all the work that your department does, and thank you for the presentation. And you hear this all the time. I appreciate that we have these, different ideas about roundabouts and the traffic calming program, and then of course enforcement. As you know, in Ward 6, Southeast Aurora, constantly get complaints about speeding, about why can't we get a roundabout. I know that's money. Roundabouts are very expensive, so we do have a budget. And this year or next year, with our deficit, I think unfortunately we're not going to be able to add to some of those programs that we have done in the past. But even for projects that you already have in the pipeline for the traffic calming program, will those be prioritized for 2026? You probably know which one I'm talking about. We were hoping to have it this year.
Yes. So I guess I'm happy to report that our budgets for traffic calming and safety have not been reduced for next year. So we are actually, I think, getting a little bit more money in the traffic calming fund. So we are trying to prioritize a lot of the different projects we've had on that wait list. So we're putting together a list of all the projects we have pending to see which ones we can prioritize. And some of our roundabout projects, if we don't have construction funding yet, we might be able to at least proceed with design so that we're still moving forward and that we can find funding in a different year by a different mechanism. So,
okay, great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just on the enforcement for Officer Brookbacher, again, I know you had the hotspot policing for traffic as well as the street racing operations. But again, our city's so large, and I know we're getting better staff data, in terms of more staff, I should say, with our officers, but it's still an issue, right, for coverage?
Yeah, absolutely. The traffic unit is not fully staffed, and it's certainly a mission. We have a posting out there right now to add additional members to our traffic unit. And part of the issue too is traffic enforcement is a very unique skill set, especially the traffic and the accident reconstruction. It takes so much education and schooling. Not everybody has the interest in it. So I will tell you that it's a challenge for me to try to staff that unit properly.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Just real quick question, Carly. What is the time when one submits a traffic calming study request to the studies done?
Yeah, that's a good question too. So if we get a request for our traffic calming program, normally residents reach out, we tell them about the program, we give them an application, they fill it out and send it back to us. And we normally collect data pretty quickly. We schedule it with a third-party vendor who collects the data. They normally put tubes on the ground, or sometimes we use radar or something. It's normally collected within a couple weeks, but then it takes another week to get to us and then evaluate it. But we try to communicate with people throughout the process, but we're able to get counters on the road pretty quickly throughout the year.
Any further questions? Great, thanks, Carly. Thanks, both of you.
especially the traffic and the accidents.
Sorry, okay. Let's see, next, we have, 5A, dual listing off-highway vehicle, Councilmember Bergen.
Thank you, Mayor. And as you all know, we had this listed on the last study session. We had to push it to today's study session due to time. It's going to be dual listed tonight, obviously. So because of the urgency of having it. So basically, I was getting a lot of, I think all of you have been getting complaints about kids on dirt bikes, some of the e-bikes that actually do go fast, and creating a danger in the roads. And so out of the numerous complaints that were coming in, not only just through email, but also a lot on Nextdoor and Facebook pages throughout the area, I had talked to the officers about what they thought we could do. And the officers also confirmed that there was a big problem, that they were not able to really do anything, because if they stop the kids, basically they just give them a warning and then they come back and do it again. So this, and there's a lot of confusion over this. This is for off-highway vehicles. Some of the e-bikes that go over 28 miles per hour actually fall into this classification, and they are not street legal. And so what this ordinance does is it basically just says what's already in code, which is highway vehicles are not street legal. That is per state code and our city code, but it does add an enforcement mechanism to it so that we can hold parents accountable. And it does allow for a $250 fine. This is all about safety. Again, like I said, with all the complaints coming in, it's a dangerous situation to have kids that are young kids, 12, 13, 14, 16 out there in the roads with, trucks and vehicles. And so we want to prevent any kind of accidents. And so this ordinance hopefully will help from that perspective. We will do a lot of education, and we have done some already, and we will do some more education to the public. Obviously, we don't want to give fines if we don't have to, but it is necessary at this point. And then I'll turn it over to Megan, then you can add on to what the ordinance says.
Sure. Good evening, Council. As Councilmember Bergen listed, this is dual listed this evening. This ordinance essentially adds an additional subsection to Section 134 of the Aurora City Code, allowing for additional enforcement against parents who have their kids using or causing or knowingly permitting their child or ward under the age of 18 to ride or drive an off-highway vehicle in the city. Again, subsections 134, 218 through 222 already prevent off-highway vehicles in the city, as Councilmember Bergen already mentioned, but this just adds an additional provision to fine parents who cause or knowingly permit their child to use these, and has that minimum $250 fine provision.
Questions for the sponsor or for Megan?
Mayor, this is Councilmember Lawson.
Councilmember Lawson.
Yeah, I'm for this this ordinance. Councilmember Bergen, have you guys came up with the cost analysis of what the campaign would cost? Because I'm hoping that it's a widespread campaign, but I know that there's limitations sometimes with funding. But have you talked about that yet, or what that could possibly be?
Yes, thank you, Councilmember Lawson. Obviously, that's a really big, important component of this, is to make sure that the public is educated on it, because there was a lot of confusion on what qualifies as off-highway vehicles. We already started, and I can send all of council some of the information that I have been putting out on social media, thanks to to Megan and also to Gabby and the police department. So putting out some messaging that we can use on social media, but I believe we're going to be also launching more of a educational campaign that the city will actually be able to put out. So we'll probably put it in the water bill, the newsletter that goes out, as well as social media. And I don't know
Councilmember-
sorry, I don't know about the cost. I think it's minimal.
Councilmember Medina?
Okay, oh, sorry.
Oh, Councilmember Lawson, please.
Yeah,
proceed.
I just a follow up. I mean, a lot of the social media is fantastic and all of that, but I'm just trying to figure out, you know, this is a big deal. Some parents, I already can see some parents saying, well, we didn't know about it. You know, some people live in HOAs, they don't get the water bill. So I just wonder if there's some kind of campaign or more that we could do. I'm not really, I know about the cost has to be somewhat minimum, but since this is kind of an issue where parents are going to be liable, I just think that we need to think that through a little bit more. So
Yeah, and I agree. I did talk to Laura Perry, to attorneys, and police about, you know, putting together an educational campaign. So we'll be definitely working on that very soon.
I got a question.
I'm sorry, Councilmember Medina.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're muted. I'm sorry.
Sorry about that. Are we targeting?
There's an echo.
Just a second. Some audio.
Probably several computers are on.
Yep. Are we targeting specific people with no plates?
So those with no plates, it basically what's been happening is like the kids are going from a lot of it has been in the southeast area and probably Ward 5 as well, but they're riding them on our major streets and they're going, for example, to the Southland Shopping Center. So they're not allowed on streets, they're not allowed on sidewalks nor trails. Again, if it's the class 1, class 2, or class 3 e-bikes, those are allowed on streets. Those are like regular bicycles. They have the pedals, and then can also have the assisted motor. But anything that is going over the 28 miles per hour is not street legal. So it's just a matter of the police being able to, you know, catch somebody riding them illegally on the street.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. I'm just curious if we stopping anybody, if they happen to have tags or have a plate, is that something we're gonna do? Because there's also, you know, motorcycles, dirt bikes can come in two different ones. I own some, that's why I said you can own what they call it enduro. An enduro is it can be ridden on a street as well as can be ridden on dirt. All the difference is the sprockets in the back just change, so the tires can change in the back to be street legal. So those are street legal. And so that's why I was just trying to get clarification of what we're stopping or not stopping.
And if they're street legal, they should have a license and they should have a vehicle registration so that the officer would know there's a license plate on their bike. These other bikes don't like the other e-bikes don't require a license, nor do they require registration. However, they are supposed to have a label on them that says this bike goes 20 miles per hour, whatever the specifications. Those are supposed to be noted on the bike, the motor wattage, and the classification of the bike is supposed to be noted on the label.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Brother, Mayor Pro Tem Sundberg.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I've noticed these incredibly fast e-bikes and scooters on residential roads, especially by young people. Is this going to be, I may have missed this, I apologize, an active enforcement campaign, or are we sort of waiting for an event to happen, then we find the parents? But are we going to be proactive about enforcement?
I will let the police officer, is there a police officer on? We were going to have our power officer Spanos because he's the one that's been dealing with so many of the complaints. But he is not on tonight per his supervisor.
And Councilmember Bergen,
yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry, yes, ma'am. Mayor, thanks. Pete Shelby, City Attorney. I've been talking to Officer Spanos. He's going to be on the council meeting. I know this would be nice to have him at the study session, but I'll tell you, yes, the police department is interested in having this ordinance in place so they can do a step further with these children. So they go back and have an educational campaign with the parents. And overall, what this ordinance does is like if any of these devices or vehicles are not street legal, this ordinance applies to. So as you said, Councilmember Medina, You talked about they don't have license plates. Yes, if they don't have license plates and they're not street legal, this ordinance will apply. So it just gives the police department another tool.
Further questions? Seeing none, is there any objection to moving 5A forward? Seeing no objection, 5A will move forward, and we will, Katie, how long do you think it would take to set up to get us into the listening session?
So the listening session, it should be up and ready to go if everybody can log on to the regular council meeting.
Okay, I'll see you all there. Thank you.